Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is the 13th tutorial in this course, and in this tutorial we are going to learn to populate one table using the data that's present in another table, right? So the statement that we're going to use to do this is the insert statement, and we checked out the insert into query in the last tutorial when we learned to put data in a table that doesn't have any rows, or even if it has rows, you can use the insert into statement to insert data in a table one row at a time, right? So we've seen how it works, and the syntax of the insert query to populate one table from the data that's present in another table is slightly different from the syntax that we've seen, right? So it has a couple of additional keywords, and one thing that you have to make sure before you do this is that the destination table, or the table in which you are going to put in your data, has to be compatible with the table from which you're pulling your data, right? So once we see this command in action in the workbench, this will become clear to us, right? And the syntax, as you can see, you have to use your keywords insert and into, and then you have to type in your table name, and then you specify the columns if in case you want to put in your data in in a few columns and not in all the columns, and then you use the keyword select and you type in the names of the columns from which you want to pull in your data, and then you use the keyword from and you type in the name of your source table, and in case you want to have some where clause, you can mention that too, but this is optional. That's why it's in square brackets, right? So let's see how this works in the MySQL environment. So I've got my MySQL workbench here, and there are a couple of ways in which you can check whether you have any tables in your database or not. The first one is, obviously, you can look into the object browser. You can click on the drop down for your database and then click on the drop down for tables. And as you can see at the moment, I've got two tables in my database. The first table is the EMP underscore info table that I created just for the sake of this tutorial. And the second one is the employee table that we created some tutorials ago when we learned the create table statement, right? So the structure of the EMP underscore info table and the employee table is absolutely same. And there's one command that I want to discuss that's got nothing to do with this tutorial. And I should have told you guys the statement, some tutorials ago actually, but I just missed it. So the command is show tables, and I mentioned it, but I didn't execute it and show you guys what it does. So when you execute this command, you see all the tables that you have in your database. So in the results set, I see that at the moment I have EMP underscore info table and the employee table, right? So that's all it does. And in case you do not want to use the object browser, or if you're using the MySQL command line client, then this is a very handy command, right? So that's enough about it. Now I'll show you guys the structure of both the tables so that you can see that the two tables are mutually compatible. So to see the structure, I'll obviously use the DESC command. So we'll first see the structure of employee, right? Because this is going to be our source table, and it has four fields: ID, name, DOB, and email. And ID field is of integer type, name is of varchar type, DOB is of date time type, and email is of varchar type, right? And now I'll show you the structure of the EMP underscore info table, right? So DESC and then EMP underscore info, and when I press Control Enter, I see that this table also has the same set of columns, but it doesn't have the primary key constraint on the ID field. And the two tables can have different set of constraints, but what's important is that the columns from which you're pulling your data from the source table and the columns in which you're putting your data in the destination table, those columns need to be mutually compatible, right? So if you're pulling in data from the ID field, which is of integer type, then you must put in your data in some field in your destination table that is also of ID type, right? So I hope I'm making sense. And another thing that we need to see before we actually execute our insert into statement is that whether the EMP underscore info table has any data in it or not at the moment, right? So to do that, I'll use the select star query, select star from EMP underscore info, and press Control Enter, and there you go. You see that the table currently doesn't have any information in it. And I'll also show you guys the output of the select star query when executed on the employee table, right? Because we should know what information we are actually going to pull in from this table. And it has two rows. The first one is a row with ID 1901 and the second one is a row with ID 2000, right? So we're going to pull in both these rows and we're going to put this information in the emp underscore info table using the insert into statement. And since we don't need any of these anymore, we'll be requiring one select star query to make sure that the insert statement has been executed successfully or not, but that we're going to need later on. So for the time being, I'll type in insert into the name of my table, which is emp underscore info, and then I'll type in the name of the columns in which I want to put in my information, right? So it's ID and then name and then DOB and then email. Next, I'll type in the select keyword and the names of the columns of the source table, and the columns are ID, name, DOB and email. And then on the next line, I'll type in the keyword from and the name of the source table, which is employee. I'll put in a semicolon to terminate the statement, and when I press the control enter key combination, I see that in the output section I get the message insert into statement has been executed successfully, and the message is that two rows have been affected, right? And we can see what all things have been copied by executing the select star query on the emp underscore info table. So the query is select star from emp underscore info. We put in a semicolon to terminate the statement, and when I press the control enter key combination, I see that in the results set I get that the emp underscore info table now has two rows. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I'll see you guys in the next one. Please subscribe to my channel in case you haven't already, and take care.